Hello, Postables and Hallmarkies. Welcome to Deliver Me a Podcast and to this very, very special episode. This is a bonus episode for Happy 4th of July. Woo! So I did something a little special today. So I'm wearing my American flag shirt. If you're watching on YouTube, it's there we go. And I put my hair in braids to give it that kind of picnicky summertime look. So that's how I celebrate the 4th of July. And
Yep.
I've got my lovely co-host here, Kaycee. So what do you got?
Hello, I'm wearing blue. I'm wearing
and
blue.
It works.
For 4th of July.
It works. We are honoring our servicemen and women who work so hard to keep this country free. And we are hoping for peace where there is unrest soon. And we are praying for that always and always, of course. So today we have two very special guests with us. We have Joel Berg, who played Buzz in To Whom It May Concern. So we're going to be talking with him. And then we have Miss Tammy Gillis, who plays Randilyn in Truth Be Told and Impossible Dream.
I'm really excited to kind of get an inside scoop and all that.
Absolutely, because playing a soldier is not easy because you're maybe not portraying a real person, but you are portraying experiences that everyday people go through every day.
Right.
So
right.
It's going to be very interesting to hear how they honored the men and women that served in the same capacity as their characters. So yes, we're very excited.
I just wanted to say, Cami, I don't know about you, because we haven't gotten to Tammy Gillis's movies. We haven't reviewed them just yet, those three always make me cry because of the story with the soldiers and the reunification with people. And it's just every single time.
Right. Oh my goodness.
This is going to be really exciting.
It's going to be great. So here we go. First up, Mr. Joel Berg. Hi, Joel.
What's going on?
How are you, sir?
Doing very well, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Decided to dive right in, just fire away, don't hold back, and let's see what's up here.
Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you auditioned and heard about the role of Buzz and what and how you got started in acting, and just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm from Vancouver Island in Canada. For a little time before, when I was really young, we grew up on a ranch in northern Canada with like no power, and we'd go down to the river to like grab buckets of water. It was like really primitive, And
that's very primitive.
yeah, it was a proper ranch. And then we lived, but mostly where I'm from is Victoria. And but like growing up in that way, we never had cable or anything, so we just had like a stack of movies, like just a ton, and we'd watch the same movie like Groundhog Day. I remember
my goodness.
It's like every day you just kind of throw it on, and then all of a sudden every day in the background Groundhog Day was playing. We watch these movies over and over again. Yeah, movies were like, that was, despite growing up literally in the wilderness, it was like movies were a big thing, it was like the escape, this big adventure. And it was so like, I knew nothing about movies. And then, I don't know, maybe when I was like 10 or something, when you're living in Victoria, I heard about my older stepbrother, who was from Alberta, who he was just an extra in Legends of the Fall. And I didn't know the movie at the time, but all I heard was he was in the movie, he like was in this war scene, he fell down a hill, got all like muddy and stuff. And I was like, what? You're in that movie? And I was like, that's like the coolest thing I ever heard of. And so, I knew nothing about getting into the industry. And so that was the first time I was really, I was like, I really wanted to get into it. But, and maybe until maybe 17 or something is when I kind of pursued it. Yeah, and then got like a film agent, and just kind of went for it, and kind of figured it out as I went along, and started training with some coaches, in Vancouver. And yeah, that was kind of like the intro into the industry, really. And yeah, I guess after about 4 or 5 years acting, I was like, okay, yeah, I want to keep doing this, the rest of my life. So, with the ups and downs, I was like, there's a bit too many ups and downs. So I wanted to get something kind of in film to keep me busy so I can navigate kind of and have like a bit more of a grounding. So I studied visual effects in England. So I moved to England for like 3 years or so.
Where in England?
In London.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I studied at Metropolitan Film School. Yeah, London's a pretty tough city, but it was a lot of fun, and it was on a budget the whole time. And it was kind of a big mashup. But
I'm sure, yeah.
Leicester Square and Piccadilly Circus area always had like big premieres and stuff going on for Harry Potter at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh man, I can only imagine Harry Potter.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, for sure, right? It really feels like you're kind of a part of it, or like the buzz, the area, it's really kind of exciting. Yeah, I worked in London for a little bit, and then came back to Vancouver and just kept pursuing acting and, training and things like that. And well, my main job usually was doing visual effects in studios. But yeah, so that's kind of it, and that's kind of what I do now. I've always got visual effects going in the background somewhere, and yeah, now that we're kind of getting through this COVID thing, some things are starting to film again, and then we can get back out there. And oh, I guess, and to answer your question, despite of all that, your other question.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and then about that role, yeah, I got an audition for Buzz, and yeah, it was really, it just felt so natural because my dad's American, and he did 2 tours in Vietnam, and it really felt close to home,
Oh wow!
And I've always kind of had that in my life a little bit, or with him, and taking care of him, and he's held it together pretty good, which has always been pretty proud of him,
Yeah.
So yeah, and so it was kind of a no-brainer. Just kind of went there, did my thing, and yeah, got that, and yeah, it was a real kind of chance to pay tribute to my old man and respect, for everybody who serves, and the sacrifices they make.
Wow. That's awesome. Like, you can draw from almost a personal story, especially with your father having served in Vietnam and everything. So that's got to be kind of special.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of grew up watching, war movies and stuff, and Vietnam movies, and, they're pretty intense too, right?
Yeah.
But I've always kind of wanted to do that for him, and get a little bit better of an understanding. So yeah, it was really kind of close to home, I guess.
So was that what sold you on the role, was to kind of honor your dad, or was there anything else that was really appealing about the role of Buzz to you?
Yeah, it's like you want to be the hero, like as an actor.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, and so it's kind of like we got heroes every day. We don't see them all the time or recognize them, but they play a big part of our how we're able to do the things that we do. Or it was definitely just kind of a time to appreciate, I guess.
Yeah.
And plus, it's, my dad always said he had a great time in the military as well. jumping onto helicopters and stuff like that. And he's got some pretty wild stories, but
oh, I bet
he does sometimes touch on like the fun that he did have as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, it was pretty rough for him. When I was a kid, you'd kind of run around with a camcorder with no storyline and like a bow and arrow, and you go shoot your friend you could have like some ketchup, and then he'd like shoot you back, and then there's just like this montage of shooting each other with his bow and arrow, like in his house, or like, but and it's kind of playing like that, I guess. Before I wanted to act, I originally wanted to get into pyrotechnics because I just loved explosions and stuff like that.
You like to make things go boom.
Yeah, right. Like, who doesn't?
You sound like my husband.
Nothing like a good explosion, right? To sell it. Yeah, right. So I mean, and those guys are having a ton of fun. They got all their special effects, which is super dope, and just a ton of fun. And it's like movie magic, right?
Yeah.
Like the visual stuff is cool, but I also don't love a lot of it because it can take away, right? And it's just supposed to like immerse yourself further, but it doesn't. It takes away, and they try to sell just the visual effects.
Right.
But ideally, it just works in tandem, and then and it just immerses you further. And whenever you don't go, wow, that's a great looking like CG thing. I mean, that's the point. You're not supposed to be like, it's just supposed to help you into the story. That's all.
Right.
But anyway, so anything practical effects, I think goes so much further. We can enhance it with the visual effects, but with the practical guys, like that's the movie magic, like the wind going in the hair off camera, and it looks awesome, but it's just like someone with a fan.
Yeah.
It's like 3 inches away from the frame.
In the Signed, Sealed, Delivered episode, To Whom It May Concern, was there a lot of CGI, or was that just all special effects? Or
a lot of that's practical, like well, definitely the war scenes, those were all special effects, which is
oh wow,
practical effects.
Where was it filmed?
There's this little patch of sand that's north of Vancouver. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but
no, I'm not. So
there's like a nice diving area called Porto Cove, towards Squamish, which is towards Whistler.
Okay, yeah.
And it just kind of flattens out, and there's these big kind of sand pits. It was cold. It was like 5 degrees Celsius, which would be in the 60s, or and they just put a little sepia tone on there, make it look like summer, or just
absolutely
like 100 degrees.
Man, who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
They're like shivering, It's like, no, we have to run around because I'm literally shaking, shivering.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have never known it was that cold.
God, who would have thought you could film Afghanistan in Canada?
Yeah.
We're in the trenches over there, guys.
How'd you get all that equipment over there?
Right.
Yeah.
So what kind of research did you do to play Buzz? Did you just talk a lot with your dad, or did you actually shadow a soldier or go through any kind of boot camp, or did you do anything to prepare for it, or take us through that?
Yeah, I mean, most of it was from my dad, because growing up, he has PTSD, and it's always kind of been, we've always been kind of influenced by him, So yeah, that was kind of like the tough part. And then growing up on the ranch, I know, guns pretty well. And so I kind of had the trainings with the guns already. And then, but it was mostly, it was mostly just about, like the character wise, about talking to my dad a little bit. Because to be honest, I think this guy is not really, he's kind of like a regular guy who gets thrust into a situation, and he handles it fairly well. I guess, in the moment. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't necessarily like special ops type, you know. He just kind of did his work, and he was able to do a decent job when it counted. But yeah, I was familiar with guns, and I do a lot of like fitness training, for this kind of thing. There's a famous Grouse Mountains, like a big Matt Damon used to do it when he was training for Elysium or some movie. It's kind of like, you want to get real fit, you go run up this mountain as fast as you can. So Grouse Mountain in North Vancouver, it's a good one because it's intense, it's tough. So you'd be running up that, for the fitness kind of stuff, and that kind of puts you in the mindset of like, wow, I definitely need to be killing it a lot better than this.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so there's a couple of like it's fun to do the physical journey and stuff, but yeah, some of the emotional stuff is, it was a bit kind of tough, I guess, being
Yeah, that is definitely, it's a very emotional episode. I mean, so this episode is the second, correct, Cammie?
Yeah,
this is the second one. So, and I've said this before on the podcast, but as soon as Samila sees Buzz in the background, I just start sobbing like a baby.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, I had already been teary-eyed from his talk with Oliver and Shane, and so it's a very emotional episode. And I feel like Martha Williamson, and we say this all the time, she's a magical weaver of storylines and just pulling at the heartstrings and everything. So and just walking through Buzz's journey, and even though it was a 45-minute episode, it was just so emotional, and just to see his growth. Again, it was very short because, again, 45-minute episode, but seeing him from his past when he had rescued Samila to returning home and struggling with PTSD to finding the confidence to go to Samila's graduation and see what an impact he had done was just amazing. And I mean, I can't say it enough. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's the real beauty of it. It's about being able to overcome, and I've always been proud of my dad and how he's held it together really well, in all this. And and it's not always a story that gets told, right?
Right.
But we all hope that you're able to overcome, or to be able to find common ground. So that was really, it's like playing, it's a huge arc, right? And it's a real juicy piece as far as that, because you got this huge transformation, and that's what kind of, that's what a good story is. And we want to see it, a big transformation, and being able to overcome like these struggles and hurdles that you have. And a lot of people, at the moment are, it's a big thing that we that we have in our society. So
yeah, for sure. So where do you think that but like your character Buzz, where do you think he is now? So we see that he was, obviously you don't wake up one day and you're cured from PTSD or anything. That's a long process, and even still years and years later people still do struggle with it, especially soldiers. So where do you think that Buzz is now?
I think he's kind of he took enjoyment in just some of the simplicity of in the nature, and just he's got a couple of friends, doesn't need much in life. He doesn't need much. So I think just finding that little bit of happiness is enough to be happy, right? Like similar to kind of what my old man did. He just found like a little routine that he likes, and you know, a couple of good friends, and you know, he checks in on his kids every, you know, and I think that's what Buzz would be doing, right? He'd be checking in to the people that he got reconnected with, and that's good enough for him.
Yeah. So I would assume he went home to his mom who made the perfect
brownies.
Yeah, yes.
Peg's practically perfect brownies.
Yeah, totally. And maybe he helps out on Sunday dinner, you know?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with helping mom in the kitchen.
Of
you
course.
know?
Not at all.
Like these little things that give you a big enjoyment now, like being able to have a dinner, you know, and help out and make a dinner, and you know, I think, you know, those simple things, like, you know, it doesn't need to be complicated, right?
Right.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but Saturday, June 27th was PTSD Awareness Day. And so that was one of the reasons why we're so glad that you're talking about not only Buzz's dealing with PTSD, but your dad and how he has dealt with his PTSD, and just bringing awareness to the situation, and just what was it like for you to create a character? You told us that you talked to your dad a lot, but what was it like for you to create a character that had to go through PTSD? Take us through that process.
Yeah, you know, like as an actor, I was trying to find this connection. Like, obviously, you know, I do research for, you know, obviously the role and stuff, and that's where, you know, I had, you know, my dad and stuff like that. But obviously, yeah, I need something for myself personally to connect with, and yeah, and so, you know, once I had that, then it's, you know, it's a no-brainer to do the acting, because you just kind of let it flow, let it happen, and then, you know, I can react in the situation as, you know, organically, and that's kind of what I did, and that was the joy of doing it, was being able to react kind of as myself, and not something predetermined, you know. So a lot of that was almost like seeing it for the first time. So it was really kind of rewarding in that way, you know.
Right.
Well, I tell you one thing, for an organic performance, you sure got one. When Sammy runs off the stage in her one red sock right in the middle of her speech, and the two of you just crash land into each other and can't be separated for anything. There's not a dry eye in the room anywhere, anytime that scene is watched. That's an organic performance right there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, knowing that was coming, that made me so nervous too, because I was like,
I bet you were.
Like, I want to hold it together, but I don't know if I can, you know. I'm gonna bawl my eyes out as well, you know. It's just a relief to build up to that point, and then just, you know, it's beautiful to be able to just let it go. And I think that's kind of what his character did.
Yeah.
It's finally like, just let it go after all these years, and it was all coming to the climax, and
yeah. Speaking of reunions, have you personally experienced a time where you've reconnected with someone after so many years, like Buzz and Sammy had reconnected after years and years?
Actually, probably it's more like the opposite of the question, where I'm going to reconnect actually. But like, my time in London, you know, one of my best friends, we only knew each other for 6 months or whatever, but we kind of went through a lot of stuff together in a really condensed period of time.
Yeah.
And then I had to move out of London. I came back to Vancouver for like 10 years. So we just kept in touch, but we didn't see each other for 10 years.
Wow.
But I was able to, I was like, you know what, I had some extra money off this thing I did. And I was like, bro, I know you're busy, but listen, I'll buy your ticket if you just come over. Right. And we'll go hang out for like a week. And he was like, yeah, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And so we made it happen. And then it was like, after finally 10 years, and we always said, we just pick up where we left off. And there was, and that's kind of why it works, is we just pick up where we left off, and that's one of the reasons also why I'm moving on this. Like tomorrow I'm moving to Portugal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's a move.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and one of the reasons too is to have some of my close friends in my life more frequently. And it's I got a visa, and Vancouver's always here for me and stuff, and things are kind of a lot online right now. And even with my agent, I'll be auditioning, and people in general will be auditioning, just doing by taped auditions, so even though I'm over there, everything's just kind of keeps going.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, that was that reconnection story.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I would want my friend to call me up and be like, hey, we haven't seen each other in 10 years. Let me buy you a ticket. Come see me. I would totally be up for that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes you got to make the effort to, otherwise you do lose touch,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's just kind of like, if you envision what I want for my life in the future. Like I'm 34, I still got some ways to go, but if I don't kind of make things happen now, then it's probably not going to happen. So it's kind of like you just got to do it and build your life the way you want it to go, at least, so in the future you can do it.
Yeah.
So question coming from the makeup chair. How long were you in that makeup chair to get that effect of the hairy man?
That was it was probably like 2 or 3 hours.
Wow, that long, huh?
Yeah, they did such a great job, though. Yeah, that hair. I got a couple of good photos of it that I just. Yeah, it was a ton of fun, man. Like I love like letting people do the work, and the makeup ladies always having like, they do a lot of work, and it's so good. And they're in their element, and you're kind of like, don't fall asleep, don't nod your head over, work on your head here. And it's really, I love to see other people in their element, right, as well.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And it was pretty funny, and putting the beard on, and it was a lot of fun.
Did you use gum? Did you use spirit gum, or did you use something else?
No, they got their own. I don't know. I forget what they used. It was like half the time I couldn't see, right? And then you just like hitting your head left and right. You're like, oh, all right, just as long as it doesn't fall off.
Use whatever you have to.
Yeah. There's nothing permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Before that, the scene in the church, actually, the director, he's like, oh, you should take it for a spin. I was like, yeah, of course. So I remember it's like downtown Vancouver. I'm all dressed up in my homeless garb, and homeless. And so I just kind of walked around a couple blocks, on our, while we're breaking for lunch. And it was before my scene, so I was able to kind of, it helped definitely put me in the frame of mind, about,
right.
Feeling a bit like you don't belong or something. But, and it actually was, it's kind of, you see people looking at you strange and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels a little depressing, but it was fun, but you also kind of feel bad, for other people who are in the situation.
Yeah. And that's also kind of an interesting thing that you did, because in that moment you're not walking around as Joel, you're walking around as Buzz. So getting into that mindset, that's interesting. Would have ever thought to do that,
Anything helps. They do all this work, and I think I was only in that for a day, that costume, and the church scene was it was a long time to film it because it was kind of a long scene. And you also want to you want to take a first spin. You want to
have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, we don't. It was such a draining emotional scene, and by the end, you're just like exhausted, and like, maybe let's just just walk around a bit more and lighten it up as well. Get a coffee at the Starbucks.
Right. All that hair.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I'll have like a double. Like what? Your voice is so weird, bro.
I'm sure that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's the fun side of it.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite scene to film, or was there a hardest scene that you had filmed?
I love the military flashbacks. Because it was all the action stuff,
yeah.
And there's a lot of, it was a well-built set, and stuff was on fire, and I forget if they kind of cut out one scene where it was like slow motion, and
No, it's there.
I know the slow motion run, but I thought there was one more where I kind of like dodged one of the fires just in one of the takes.
Oh,
I don't know if they used it. But I knew it looked bomber because it was like, I knew that I almost ran into the flame, right? And the flame was like going by. But still, like that one shot, it's all kind of like a one shot. And then you get to the chopper, and then the chopper was on a crane, which was cool, but it wasn't really going. And then there's huge fans at the top. Obviously, you don't want to just have a real chopper if you don't need to.
Yeah.
But that's where the practical side was, it was really a ton of fun because there was like extras running around, and my buddy in the chopper there, who's it was nice to act with some other actors, doing some other action stuff, and yeah, it was a pretty heroic scene.
Yeah.
Pretty heroic.
Sure. Yeah.
Pretty heroic. yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
We talked when we did the recap of the episode, I got teary-eyed when we talked about the F equals friend across Samila's eyes, and just
yeah.
I don't know how you did it, because I would assume that it would have to be one take, and it was kind of in the middle of the pillowcase. So I don't know how you tore it just perfectly to get the F for friend across her eyes, but it was incredibly effective.
Yeah, that's kudos to like the set deck and continuity and all those other magic people behind who are like, hey, listen, you have to pull it here.
Right.
Otherwise we're going again.
But you still had to make it look spontaneous, so that was yeah.
But that's I don't remember how many times we did it, but it's and that's kind of those little things that it was important to get that right. Nice little Easter egg there.
Yeah.
Well, Joel, thank you so very much for sharing your experience and your thoughts with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem at all, man. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad that you guys loved watching it, and it's
over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this is one of the Postable's favorite episodes.
I could say that very safely.
Yeah, it comes up quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That's why I can't stop acting. There's so many stories to tell, and it's really important to keep telling them. Got to keep telling stories, man. There's one of the best ways to learn and to bring light onto stuff. So
Well, do you have any social media that you'd like to share, especially since you're going to be moving to Portugal?
Yeah, you can follow. I'm trying to be more active on social media, but I think now because Instagram can just like post to the rest of the things, I kind of only just do Instagram now. So it's joel.berg.129.
All right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff in the works, and stay tuned. One of the reasons I'm moving to Portugal, at least for this time, is to be able to create some of my own projects, which have been in the works for a little while, and I can finally have a little bit more time to set those off. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for coming on, and say bye to the Postables.
Yeah, thanks guys so much. Goodbye, good night, boa noite, tenha boa noite. Yeah, and thanks for your time. That was awesome.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
So, Cammie, that was such a great discussion with Joel, and just learning about, a little bit more about him and learning about his dad. I mean,
oh my gosh, his dad was an American soldier who had PTSD. He was born to play that role.
Right. I mean, talk about full circle right there, too.
Yes.
And he gave some fun facts. I mean, afterwards too.
Yeah, so Postables, we weren't able to record this, but after we got off with him, he told us about the two actresses who played Samila. So he said that he and Rami, who played the older Samila, that the two of them became very good friends. And then he talked about Inaya, who played young Samila, how it was one of her very first jobs, and she was a little nervous around him. And the thing that really made her nervous was when she was blindfolded and being carried to the chopper with all of these explosions and blasts happening. And he kept on trying to comfort her and calm her and saying, "I promise I will carry you very gently and I will place you in the chopper. I will not drop you." So we couldn't record it because we were going too long, but it was a great thing that he just kind of added in a little tidbit there.
Yeah, that was super fun. And good luck to him. That he's definitely one to watch for, especially with just his talent in doing special effects or visual effects and acting. So super fun.
We're gonna keep our eyes out.
Yes, for sure. Now we get to talk to Tammy Gillis. Everybody knows and loves Tammy Gillis. I mean, she's done so many roles in Hallmark. And we're very excited to talk to her about her experiences in Signed, Sealed, Delivered as
Randilyn Amidon.
So you ready to talk to
I'm ready.
Tammy?
Let's do this.
All right. Hey, Tammy, thanks so much for joining us on our special 4th of July episode on Deliver Me a Podcast, an offshoot of the Hallmarkies podcast. And I believe the last time you were on the Hallmarkies podcast, it was March 2018. So you've definitely done a lot since then. And I know we're going to talk more about Signed, Sealed, Delivered, but I just have to say it.
Oh boy, here she goes.
Your performance in Aurora Tea Garden, a game of cat and mouse. So they had Niall and he was newer, and then they bring you on and I'm like, oh, it's Tammy Gillis. This is so awesome. Maybe she's going to be a regular. This is so great.
Nope, not going to be a regular.
And then you went from like the nice professor to like the crazy like murderer, and you had like the crazy eyes going. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on right now? So I just have to say your performance in that was fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite of the recent ones that you've done, just because awesome. I was so like shook.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
Yes.
And I'm so happy you loved Aurora. Aurora was so much fun.
I bet.
Just to like, I've worked with Niall, and I've known Niall for a long time, so it was fun to be able to sort of play and banter with him. He's such a fun actor. And then Candace is really, really great as well. and then just get to be able to like pull out the full crazy. And I'd have to constantly be like, you have to let me know if it's too crazy, because I'm having so much fun.
Oh yeah, you could totally tell y'all had a lot of fun on that set.
I went back and forth. Like, she's the killer. No, she's not. She's the killer. No, she's not. Oh my gosh, she's the killer.
Well, it was funny because Miranda was like, maybe they're finally going to let me have a friend. Maybe,
yeah.
Like, I know you're going to jail, but maybe when you get back out. And I'm like, I don't think she's coming out.
Yeah, and I had that same thought too, because you guys were pretty close, y'all's characters, and also you being another teacher, and I'm like, surely, this upstanding citizen of a teacher who's friends with, police officer.
She's a police, yeah.
But yeah, I just have to say that was so much fun, and I don't know, maybe there will be redemption for Brie Carson, maybe.
Nah. If they get engaged or married, maybe she'll break out of jail.
Well, they got engaged, so is she gonna break out and show up at the wedding?
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
Too fun. Well, another project you've done, and it's been a few years, has been the 2 movies in Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Truth Be Told, and Impossible Dream as Lieutenant Randilyn Amidon. So when we were pitching out to the Postables, and there were huge fans out there on Twitter, who do you want us to get? Who do you want to hear from? Everybody is like, Tammy Gillis. We want Tammy Gillis. You were like top 5 of the people.
That's amazing. That makes me feel so good.
Yeah,
your character was amazing.
Oh,
I just watched The Impossible Dream today, and I told Kaycee I got on to start the meeting, and I'm like, oh gosh, get the tears out, because I was still crying from it.
Yeah. That was a really, really, really special 2 movies. That project. I was really, really honored to do it. And Martha just writes so beautifully. And what was really, one of the things that was really special is actually that Mark Valley was in it as well. And Mark and I have been friends for a really long time.
Oh,
and Mark actually served, he did a couple of tours. And so he shared some of his experiences about that with me. And then it was so crazy that he ended up being in the episode, and then I was playing this character. And we actually, the night before we started filming, we met up and just like had a big chat about a lot of the stuff. And so it was just so amazing to get to work with him finally, because he's so talented, but also just, be able to honor this really incredible character and have a little bit of his insight into it.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Did you do any other research on playing? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I did a ton of research, actually.
Did you actually attend a boot camp?
I did not.
Too bad.
I have gone to boot camps, but not like a military army sort of boot camp. But when the very first day of shooting on the first movie, Martha came into my trailer and let me know that there was going to be a second one, because at that point they didn't actually know. And it was one of the very first times that Hallmark had ever approved a movie without having a script. She hadn't even finished writing it yet.
Wow.
So she kind of told me what was going to happen to my character, that in the Impossible Dream, sort of what was going to happen, that she was going to be rescued. So she wanted me to think about maybe what she had gone through when she had been captured and held in captivity. Like, would she have, if she was hurt, where would she have been hurt? What would that have felt like to heal? Would she, have lost significant amount of weight? Like all of those kinds of things. And then mentally, where would that sit with her? So I watched a lot of documentaries, and I read a bunch of different books. It's funny because it's been so long now, but there's that one American female that was kind of younger that was abducted, she was captured. And then they ended going over there and rescuing her. And so I watched actually the entire rescue video of when they touched down and them going in the middle of the night, and like it was crazy. And then reading her book about what she had gone through, it was pretty intense. Yeah. And then reading her book, and then just all the footage and everything surrounding it, and looking at a bunch of different ones, because there hasn't been a lot about a woman that's been held. You know, a lot of it is men, because obviously there are more men. So it was interesting to hear and read her perspective on it, and sort of what Randilyn may have been going through.
What kind of things did you take and put into Randilyn?
The survival, being a survivor. And the thing too that was very, very important was all she wanted. It's so funny. I'm getting so emotional. This happened so long ago.
So are we. So it's all good.
It's like all she wanted to do was get back to her daughter.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, it was crazy shooting like that whole, all the sequences of like her hiking up the hill and falling down the hill. And it was really interesting because at many times I was the only actor on set. So it's just like me and the crew, but the crew also know I'm going through this craziness that it was interesting because I would be kind of separated from them. So it was a bit of a like isolating experience in the shooting itself.
I didn't even think about that. Of course. Yes. You're the only one on set for probably days at a time.
Yeah. And it was crazy because we were shooting in this gravel pit in Victoria, and it was like 35 degrees, which is like, what, like 90, maybe hotter than that?
Yeah.
Blazing sun and really super dusty. And so it was just it was exhausting in that sense, but that was also kind of beneficial because it really gave a sense of what it would have been like. And we shot a couple of days, especially at the end, way into the night. And the very last day of shooting, we shot for like 16 hours, and I didn't get home until like 7 a.m. I was supposed to fly out at noon, and I slept right through all the alarms.
Oh no!
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sure that was able, you were able to also take the isolation and just like embody the character just fully 100%. And, also being, I'm sure exhausted, which obviously Randilyn would have been, really tired and exhausted and just emotionally, physically, mentally. And that whole storyline for me, I mean, Cammy and I have talked about this a million times, but this
a lot.
sob, Impossible Dream. I mean, when you come out of the airplane, I just start like crying. And Megan, I think was the name of
Megan.
Yes, and she's like, "Mom, mommy, mama." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" like pause the TV. Let's just full on cry. Okay, now we can continue.
Yeah, that was really emotional for all of us.
I
shooting
bet.
it. Like literally, we all cried on every take. And the director's like, "You guys need to save it for like coverage."
We can't.
And that's exactly it. We're like, we can't. Like, this is impossible. It was just so emotional.
The two parts that got me, they weren't even entire scenes. The two parts that got me were Randilyn in the chopper. You can just see the relief on your face. I'm rescued. I'm going to be okay. But she's a soldier. She's going to hold it together. And so just tears streaming down your dirty face with America the Beautiful playing in the background. I lost it. I completely lost it. That and I also love to sing as well. So music hits me home really, really strongly. So you going through your trek and your journey with Impossible Dreams singing, and then you clawing with that big, huge belting out of Star, like, I can't watch it anymore. I was sobbing. Those are the two parts that, because the reunion, of course, got me, but those other two parts, I lost it. I lost it completely, and it was just so beautiful, so well written, so well executed. We here on our podcast, we call Martha the Weaver, and just how she weaves things together so beautifully, and it just those were the two parts that got me.
Yeah, absolutely. Martha writes so beautifully, and she's such a brilliant, like, powerful, intelligent woman. She's just, it's inspiring being around her.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So what appealed to you about taking this role? What made you want to audition and then accept the role of Randilyn?
For me, it felt like it was something totally different than from what Hallmark really does.
Yeah.
And I think Martha was even surprised that they approved the storyline, but then she sort of snuck in. She's like, this is a lot heavier than Hallmark does, but they already approved it. So she's like, I'm going to try and push it for the reality of it as far as I can.
Yay!
Yes.
Which was awesome, because it's true, like, so many people really, really love it. So I think that, you know, that was a risk worth taking. And I'm so absolutely happy and lucky that she gave me that heads up, because then I really could dig in, and I wanted to honor the people that go and fight for our freedoms. You know, I wanted to do it justice, and I wanted to make sure that I just honored those people.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the only storyline that got 2 movies. This is the only one that continues over. So there was something incredibly special and incredibly meaningful about this storyline. So yeah, it was a story that needed to be told, that deserved to be told, and that was very well told.
It was just so incredible, such an incredible storyline. And I know the Postables, this is one of the ones that is a top favorite for sure. And especially with the letter story, always comes up. So where do you think your character Randilyn would be now? You know, we see her coming off the plane, and she reunites with her father and her daughter. And then that's what we know. Have you ever thought about that?
Well, yeah, it was kind of like, what would life have looked like after that for her? I feel like overall she was treated fairly well over there. But like, that's something Martha wanted me to think about. Like, did she go through any abuse of any kind? And I think, like, she probably needed a little therapy when she got back, and spent a lot of time obviously with her family and her daughter. But I feel like she maybe would have taken that and then found a way to help maybe other people that have gone through a circumstance similar to that. So definitely stayed in the Army, and then maybe, you know, became some sort of therapist or specialist in some sort of way.
Yeah, I could totally see that. You know, especially given her situation, and, you know, having her whole family, her late husband was in the military, her father was in the military, and, you know, raising a strong young woman, making sure, you know, to be a great example for her. So, yeah. And then how do you picture Randilyn handling all the negative press that had surrounded her during that time?
Well, that's sort of interesting, because I don't feel like she would have been really aware of it. So this would have been like after the fact, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the strong reactions both of you had is that's the way that people do have that reaction to women as mothers if something like that happens. I actually did a feature film where the mom she wasn't the best mom. She had a lot of problems. She was really depressed, and she ended up leaving. And then her son kind of broke up with her and said, don't come home. And then she made it her mission to win him back. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that may be a part of like the whole therapy side, that maybe she brings like a little bit of light to mm-hmm. that, and not the stigma that women are immediately judged for it. Mm-hmm. Versus men, like men don't get quite the same reaction when they leave their child.
Right.
So I feel like maybe she would do something in that realm so that she could turn that negative thing into a bit of a positive and maybe help some people, or get people to look at things in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. In that realm, it's a powerful story. I mean, if it happened in real life, wow.
That would be a story for the ages. That's for sure.
Yes.
What language were you speaking? Was it Arabic in Impossible Dream?
Oh my goodness. Let me think. That was so hard to memorize, by the way.
That's what I was going to ask you. How were you able to wrap your tongue around that?
It was really, really hard. They gave it to us like 2 weeks in advance.
That's
and
good.
Somebody to work with. But literally, it's just like memorizing words that don't have an attachment to anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know?
Was it Arabic?
I'm not sure if it was I wanted to say Farsi for some reason, but I don't think that's it either.
Oh,
okay.
I'm not 100% sure what it was, but it was a very specific one.
Okay.
If you ask me to remember that dialogue now, there's
no
way.
won't ask you to repeat any of it.
Yeah. So, just a little fun question for you, with makeup, how long were you in the makeup chair for, to get all the effects of, Randilyn,
for your leg
captured? Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because like for her, I had my hair when I booked it was blonde. So they dyed it brown.
Okay.
And then I wore a wig when we were in Impossible Dream, to show that it had been like 2 years she'd been away.
Okay.
Because they were like, are they going to give her a haircut? Probably not. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Your hair was covered the whole time, so I didn't really notice it. Yeah, I'm ashamed to say.
Right. And then, so for makeup, I had no makeup. They rubbed fake dirt on me, but then as the day would progress, I would just get dirtier and dirtier. So they wouldn't do it, and like sweaty and dirty. And so like they'd have a bit of dirt on me, and depending on where we were at, they might have had to match some of the dirt. Mm-hmm. But what was interesting is the leg wound took like 2.5 hours. Wow. But Hallmark, they don't show certain things. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't actually even show the wound, that we had to cover it with a thing. So we didn't even need to spend all the time doing it.
I beg to differ. It's brief, but there's a shot of it. And I had to have my little girl turn away because she's afraid of blood. So
what was interesting, because some people saw it and they're like, oh my goodness, what happened to you? And I'm like, no, it's not real. Not real.
It definitely looks real.
Fake blood.
Yeah, it looked nasty.
Yeah. So it's very authentic, all the dirt and all that.
Yeah.
It's good enough.
Did you perform your own stunt of rolling down the hill?
No. What was crazy is both of the stunts, like when she falls out of the helicopter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I fell out of the helicopter, but
you did?
From like maybe, I don't know, like 10 feet, which is still far.
It's pretty far.
When you're going backwards out, and I didn't fall on the ground. We cheated that with, I was standing and then I would fall.
Okay.
But when I fell out of the helicopter, they had cardboard boxes and then mats on top of that. So even when I hit that, it was still like, felt that. And then when falling down the hill, we did it in 3 sections. So the very top, I rolled a couple of times and the stunt coordinator was there to catch me. And I almost took him down with me one of those times. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
I'm not ready for this. And then we shot me rolling a couple of times at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like the middle chunk was there was a stunt girl who also fell out of the plane, which like so high, like 40 feet. I was just like, it was insane. But she rolled all the way down the hill.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
It, like even like in Aurora Tea Garden, when I get like taken out, the stunt, like we'll do it and the actors will get like the easy little part, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look that hard, and then you'll see the stunt people do it and you're like, there's no way.
Never mind.
How are you all right now?
Right? Yeah. Wow.
That is
I'm always really grateful for all the incredible stunt people I've worked with.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I would be terrified out of my mind falling 10 feet, to be quite honest.
Well, the thing is I wasn't really expecting them to go up as high as they did. And then
no,
action. And so I'm just like, but even like the very first part of rolling down the hill, that was really scary because it was really steep. And it was just full trust in this guy that he was going to catch me.
Yeah. Wow. So do you have a favorite scene that you filmed in either of those 2 movies specifically?
I love doing all of it. It felt like all of the stuff when we were in Pretend Afghanistan, like the sneaking out and like this trekking and all, it's so fun as an actor to do stuff you haven't done before. And especially with the amount of work I put into it and how invested I really felt in it, I loved working on it so much. And definitely the airplane scene was, beautiful moment, but it was so like, that was really hard to go through.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Did you have a hardest scene to film?
That was probably one of them, just because it was so emotionally overwhelming, especially with everybody else's reactions to what was going on.
Yeah.
And also the scene where I do get rescued, that was really hard as well. Just like not even being able to comprehend what going through something like that would be like.
Yeah.
Did they have music playing in the background so you could kind of react in time with it, or no, it was just all raw?
No.
Wow.
And the thing is like, that wasn't a real helicopter even. It was the shell of a helicopter that they were lifting up and down on a crane.
Yeah.
And they had all these wind machines, so it was just like dust and like it was and you couldn't hear anything because they're so loud.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
that makes sense. Yeah.
We talked to Joel Berg, who played Buzz in one of the episodes of the TV series. And so he talked about filming in Victoria in the fake Afghanistan and having the helicopter shell on a crane going up and down.
Yeah.
So, and just how noisy everything was. So I can only imagine that you would say, action, what?
Yeah, you're just like, I'm just gonna do this.
I just start acting now, right? Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I actually had one more question.
Yeah, sure.
When you get off the plane, something I noticed is your hair is not in a bun. Was there a particular reason for that? Because of course we know that usual Army regulations, you would have your hair back, but it's in more of a half ponytail. Was there any specific reason for that, or just giving her a break after being in captivity, or was that
That's an interesting question. I think that they wanted to have it down to maybe show like such the difference between when she originally went over and she had short hair and she was like very formal and sort of very, I don't want to say tough, but she was a stronger woman. And I feel like maybe having it down and making it softer was that because she wasn't exactly the same person as she was before. She's a survivor now, you know,
more vulnerable.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And maybe too, she's also coming home not just as a soldier, but as a mom too. So it kind of shows the distinguishes, soldier, and then with the short hair and the, very, firm body movements, and like mom who long hair, warm, embracing. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And it was interesting because like I'd lost probably at least 10 pounds in between the movies. So I even feel like when I come out of the plane, we also had come up with the idea that she'd maybe broken her leg when she fell out of the helicopter. And so it hadn't really healed properly. So she has like a bit of a limp. So I felt like she looked a little bit more fragile too.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Huh. Yeah. That's a good question, Cami.
Great question.
like trying to think through that last scene of, the difference, but that's cool.
I still got it in me. All those instincts kicking in.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tammy. You have given us such a great insight into, both Truth Be Told and Impossible Dream. And, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. It's a very special movie, and you are so special to the Postables. Like I said, they are such a huge, huge, huge fans.
Oh, thank you so much. The first thing I want to say is you guys are so much fun. Thank you for asking me to do this. It's an honor. And also all the people that I work with on Hallmark, and especially the people that do a lot of Hallmark, we just love you guys so much. The Hallmarkies and the Postables, and how much you engage with us and give us this feedback on, it's so beautiful for us to hear, because we love making these movies and we love putting this out there, and just knowing that you guys love it as much as we do makes our job incredible.
Yeah. Well, we could watch these two movies on repeat. No question.
Extra boxes of Kleenex around the house.
Oh my gosh.
For sure. Do you have any upcoming Hallmark movies you can tease?
Not right now, but fingers crossed, because boy, have they been coming down the pipe.
All right, yeah, and hopefully we can get our, Darcy number 3 with
Darcy number 3
with Henry and is it Jen? Is your character?
Jenna,
yes. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen them. But
come on, Kaycee.
There's a lot of Hallmark movies.
You call yourself a fan.
Do you have any social media you want to shout out? Or
Sure, yeah. I have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and it's all at Real Tammy Gillis. I'm generally on Instagram the most, but I live tweet always on Twitter, which is so fun. Yeah. Like the last Marrying Mr. Darcy was insane for the amount of fan engagement. Like it was the most, I think, social media'd movie ever. We were trending 2 hours ahead of it airing in New York. We were like, what's happening? This is crazy.
So fun.
But yeah, we love it.
Awesome. All right. Well, you guys go follow Tammy and watch for her, hopefully, fingers crossed, new movies for Hallmark. And we are cheering you on. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, Hallmarkies. Bye. Cami, that was so much fun talking to Tammy and hearing about all her tidbits on, Truth Be Told and Impossible Dream. She is just such a delight.
Is it too much to say that I kind of idolize her?
I'm to be quite honest with you, I didn't realize it, but everything I've seen her in, and
is amazing.
I love her.
I know.
She is so awesome. She's definitely one of my favorites for sure.
I know. I mean, every time you see that Tammy is going to be in something, you immediately say,
it's gonna
okay,
be good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's watch for her because it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I realized when she was talking about Aurora that she had worked with Niall in Frozen in Love, and she played his ex-girlfriend.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I totally forgot about that until she was talking about how she had worked with Niall. And so, seeing her play the angry ex-girlfriend / boss woman is I still love watching her. So and then she plays somebody like Randy and just your heart just melts.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's funny too with these two movies, she really doesn't have a whole lot of like lines that she says.
No,
it's
not
all
really.
Just her character, and we just see the journey, and we see the actions, and we see the emotion from her, and it's just so moving. And she's just such an incredible person.
Yeah. And I mean, when she talked about how she was the only person on set, I wanted to hit my forehead and go, duh, yes, of course she is. But you don't even think about that because it's happening right in the middle of everything. And so it just, and what a powerful, powerful performance.
Yes.
I still can't get over it. Like I said, I watched it earlier today to get ready, and I was still crying. So.
Yeah. I cry every time. I mean, we already know that. That goes.
We already know that, and we don't have Jess. We don't have Jess to be our mop. Dang it!
Yeah, we don't have the mop today.
We don't have the mop.
Oh man. Well, this has been such a fun little episode that we kind of threw together in honor of 4th of July and the actors who played soldiers in the Signed, Sealed, Delivered series. And we know this one was a bit of a different episode, so let us know if how you liked it. Should we do more of these coming up?
Did you like the surprise?
Yeah. Let us know. We are always up for any ideas that you guys might have. So thank you guys so much for all your support. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July. And if you are not American, I hope you have a wonderful Saturday.
Bye. Happy 4th.